Can we have the lights a bit on? I want to see the audience. I'm not able to see the audience. Yeah, that's great. So I've been I had the opportunity to work with the organizing committee, to come up to build up the sandbox. So I'm going to go a bit slow. We have been going very fast since the morning, so we will try to get a bit more granular. So I very much encourage any questions if you have. So I just want to look at the audience first and find out how many of you are clinicians and how many of you are developers. Can the clinicians raise their hands? Okay, I would say 20% are clinicians.
No, 5%.
5%. Okay, 10. I would say 10%. And how many are developers? Okay, developers 50%, I guess, right? And who is not a clinician or a developer? And can you just tell me what your roles are?
Administration, entrepreneur.
Okay. Any other?
Quality improvement.
Quality improvement. Any other role we are missing here?
Standards geek.
Standards geek, yeah.
Professors.
That counts as a developer, the standards geek, yeah. Yeah? Professors, yeah, okay. So I kind of put them on the clinical side, professors, quality analysis. So you're either a developer who understands how to do, or you are either a clinician or a data analyst or a person who wants things to be done.
What about patient?
Patient also wants something to be done. Okay, so people who want something to be done and people who can do something, right? Two groups. And we need both of them to come together to develop a good smart app. Okay, Dr. Shoei said that 40% of the score is going to go, the scoring of 40% grade is going to go on technicality and scalability. So we want an app which does something useful. Okay, so we want people who have ideas. Clinician has got an idea. In Mayo, we had an app called as a Yes app. It was a Yes board. Why it was called Yes board? Because clinicians were requesting the EHR to have certain functionality, and they were always hearing no, no, no. For many years, it was just no. So the clinicians said just came together and said, okay, let us develop this app on our own, and we'll just call it Yes. Okay, so smart apps offer that functionality that clinicians just have an idea they want to see it now. They don't want to see it after 2 years. They don't want to be on the waiting list. Okay. So they can partner with a developer and quickly, using the API, do something useful and come up with this app. They can share it, use it for their own work. Okay, so that's kind of the goal over here. Okay, we just move ahead a bit. So we are going to try to address two things in this presentation. One is why Smart on Fire on I2B2, and we'll describe a bit about the development environment. Okay, so why Smart on Fire on I2B2? Does it make sense? Too many acronyms here? Okay, let me begin with I2B2. So what is I2B2? I2B2 is a software which is developed at the Harvard Medical School over the period of 10 years with a lot of funding from NIH. And it's kind of it has really matured, and the idea of the software is to allow researchers at institutions to build research, to develop cohorts. Okay, and it has got this architecture in which it's all open source, and it has got several cells, and so each cell offers a unique functionality, and they all talk to each other using XML. Okay, so it's kind of easy. You can kind of replace one cell with the other. Okay, so it's installed at more than 140 institutions. Most major academic institutions and hospitals have it, for research cohorts. And several I2B2 instances are connected together so that you can share data and run a query across a network. Okay, so if one were to develop a Smart on Fire app which runs on an I2B2 instance, suddenly now you have a potential of being able to run that app on so many other academic centers. Okay, so you're not resubstituting the app, you're kind of substituting the backend. Okay, you are able to run it at different places. So there is an advantage. So if you develop something on the Fire API, you will be able to you have this broad customer base who can utilize your app. Yeah.
They're picking up a little bit of noise from the papers.
Okay. So I2B2 uses this sidecar approach in which you have the EHR at the institution and it's kind of serving data out for clinical operations. But a copy of the data from the EHR is going into the I2B2 instance. It's kind of a data warehouse with this broad star schema, and people use it. It has got an interface in which you can query you can use ontologies to query and build up your cohort, and then extract that data out and do your research analysis. So the idea is that it doesn't load the EHR operations. It separates that out. And what we are doing is we have put a Fire API on top of I2B2. Okay. So now there is a whole new way of accessing data, which is already 140 institutions already have their patient data in I2B2 instance. Okay. And we're just allowing a new way to access it by having this Fire API. So in this particular institution, what we are doing over here, what we are doing is that from the EHR, you got LEL spoke about this. That you're going from the EHR to the clinical data model. And from the clinical data model, that is getting populated into the I2B2 instance. Now, researchers at these institutions can use the I2B2 interface to build cohorts. But in addition, by having the Fire API, we are going to now be able to develop these apps. So if a clinician wants to develop if there is an app which runs in the clinic, the EHR doesn't say that, okay, we are not going to allow you to run this app because it's going to slow down our performance. You can run the app on the I2B2 instance. Okay. So as I described, the I2B2 software in itself has got a lot of components, cells inside of it, and the Fire API is going to abstract that out. You don't need to worry about what happens behind the backend. Okay, all you will see is the Fire API, and there's a whole team across institutions which is working on this. So I kind of started working on this recently, and Josh and Sean Murphy and Ken have been. This idea has been there for a while. Okay, a little bit about the inner workings. As part of the Cajun Code Fest, you don't need to worry about this. Okay, but I just want to give you an idea. You will have an idea of how the API behaves by knowing this. So when you are, as a client, as the smart app, when it makes a call to the API, to the Fire API in the backend connects to the I2B2 server. First of all, it authenticates using the smart OAuth authentication, and it connects to the I2B2 server, gets the data, it puts it in the cache. If it's already in cache, it will retrieve that. It will convert the I2B2 XML into the Fire XML on the fly. It will add some more information, semantic information, like converting one code system to the other, and it will execute the query and give it back to the client. Okay, I'm going to skip over this. This is like what's happening in the background is nothing but XML conversion from I2B2 XML to the Fire XML. Okay. Okay. So I heard about the word Fire 1 year ago. Okay, I've been working, and it was Lloyd's presentation in Cambridge. This is the first presentation on Fire. Lloyd is here in this room, the expert over here. So, and from 1 year, I could kind of go from knowing nothing to kind of contributing, doing something good with it. So Fire is easy to learn. What makes it easy to learn is that it's an open specification. You can just easily Google it, as Josh demonstrated, and you can read it. It's easy to understand as compared to the earlier HL7 specifications like V2 and V3. They are very complex to understand, but this is very easy to understand, and it's very easy to understand if you are doing something with it, if you're using it. Okay, and there are these test servers. So when you interact with the test. Okay. This one. Okay. Is that okay?
It would be better on the other side. You want to make sure your voice is clear for the recording.
Okay. Is it clear? Okay. So this is the URL which Josh showed, and you can start interacting with the servers, which we are going to do now in some time. So Prasad is going to show you a demo, and if you want, you can pull out your laptops and also start interacting, and see how the API behaves. So Graham Grieve is the original architect of Fire, and he's got a server running there. James is there in this room. James is kind of his server is available. Josh is there, and we got a I2B2 demo server. And these people are going to be around throughout the day. You can interact with them, and here's a really good chance for you to ask your questions and learn, especially for the developers. So there are different kinds. You can classify the Fire servers. Servers which are natively Fire. They kind of understand Fire and only talk Fire. They save data in the Fire format. And others, and a lot of the others like EHRs and like ours are kind of an API on top of something different. So we have got I2B2 in the backend, and we are giving out Fire, converting the information into Fire format and serving it. Someone may have a SQL backend. You can have different backends. So it's good to know what kind of Fire it is. Then the server can also be read-write or can be read server. So for example, as a healthcare institution, you already have an EHR. You probably might mostly be read format, because you don't want the data to be changed. So like in I2B2, we don't want, as far as the apps are concerned, there'll be some use cases where we want to write information back to. And security. So for learning, for the sake of learning, a lot of the servers are kind of open. They have got no authentication. You can just throw a URL at the server and it will process it for you. But that's for a testing purpose for learning. And usually for real world applications, you'll have to use OAuth 2. And we really want to emphasize on using OAuth 2 as far as the competition. I would kind of suggest that you want for the competition to have an app which can be used in the real world and is scalable. So it's it's good. You should have plus points if you're using OAuth 2, and that's the way to go. And the smart library. So I also started, I developed this first smart app maybe 6 months ago. So I kind of, can share these things with you. That I found the documentation to be really good when you look at the smart app. Even if you don't know about what OAuth is, you can spend some time with it. It takes a few days to understand what is OAuth 2. And the library it's a JavaScript library, which makes it very simple. You don't have to worry about the OAuth authentication. You can just take it off, and so Nikolai is going to share, is going to share a sample app which you people can just build up of. Okay, it's going to do some basic things like pull up medications, pull out labs from the demo servers, and you can extend that, and you could have more resources getting pulled out, or you can focus on how to visualize those resources. That's where your skills will come in, and put it for a good use case. Okay, how can you make sense of the data and apply it to a clinical problem? Okay, that is where your skills are going to count. The basics of Fire URL. Just wanted to take a step back and talk about this a bit. So the way you can ask information to a SQL server is writing a select statement. Select statement, and you have a whole lot of clauses where, and you can group and order stuff. So in Fire, you request information as an URL. So for example, you can break up a URL into the base address of the Fire server, what kind of resource you're using, and you can kind of this is the where statement, that the query, that what kind of patient do you want. So this one says that give me a patient with ID 1234 and whose gender is male. Okay. So when I substitute the patient with, I can substitute it with labs. I can say get me labs for the patient with this ID. Okay, so it's as simple as that. And whenever you have a Fire endpoint, you can use a client like Postman to study like how that server is behaving, and you can put requests. You can do get, put, update, and and delete, like the restful ones. And get is usually the first step probably where you begin with, and you can play around with with these sample queries today, and see try them at the endpoints and see how they what you get back. Okay. Okay. So Prasad is going to walk us over with what's available as part of the Code Fest. How we can help you, and we are welcome to suggestions. What more can we do? Prasad, do you want to take it over?
Hey everybody, I'm Prasad Patil. I'm from Persistent Systems. Sorry. Yeah, I'm from Persistent Systems. We are the technology partner for the various initiatives that are going on with ReachNet. So Elial briefly talked about Command Center. So that is the one I'm like involved in right now. But there are like other initiatives like Pragmatic Trial App Suite and few others. So I'm also like involved in that, and Persistent as a company is involved in that. So right now why I'm here for is that, so we have a Cajun Code Fest that is going on, and we have a server that is set up. And what we have tried to do is like give you an environment where you can like try out your pragmatic or your smart apps, so that you can actually like query against real patient data. So the theme of this Code Fest is that diabetes. So what we have tried to do is like specifically target patients which have like diabetes or something similar, and we have tried to like get a group of like 300 patients, and what we have tried to do is like hide all the identifiable information, and we have tried to like set up a server with like just de-identified data of these patients. We also made the server read only so that one developer should not mess it for everybody else. So all the calls that are going to be on this server are going to be read only. There are like about 4 API calls that are available right now. Demographics, patient data, all the patients, conditions, and lab. Okay, so this is what we have tried to do on the server. So now is the opportunity like, so this is primarily like targeted at the developers. The others can like go along with me. So I can like quickly show you what we have tried to do as part of this server and how we have set it up. So the endpoint of this, okay, so we have the server set up and we have like a few API calls that are already operational. So one thing that we have done is like we have like some sort of authentication or authorization on the server, so anybody cannot access this. And Rahul has the authorization code if somebody wants it. So we'll be officially like giving the server to everyone in the next few days. But if you want to like get a sneak preview or like get your hands onto this server, it's available right now, and Rahul can provide you the authorization tokens. So this is basically a Fire server that Kavi implemented. We have hosting that one. So it has like a few API calls that work. So one is the get all patients. So it gets you all the list of patients that are there on the server. So this is like information about like 300 patients that have been de-identified. The other one is the get patient by ID call, which what it does is that it gives you specify the parameter that Kavi like just mentioned. So you give the patient ID and then it gives you the patient results. So there it is. And then there is a observation API which you can use. So for all these API calls, I mentioned the authorization, right? So you have to specify the authorization header. So it's something like this, and this is the token that you can get from Rahul. And yeah, so this is the server. This is the sneak preview of the server. It will be available to everybody in the next few days. That's about it, what I wanted to cover. So Kavi, you want to like take a